It's time for TWiT This Week in Google. I'm back. Jeff and Gina are here. Aaron Newcomb as well to talk about the latest litigation in Europe and Australia, trying to shut Google down. We'll also talk about the UN taking over regulation of the internet. New features for Android, yes, now with December. It's all coming up next on TWiT.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. Cachefly.com. This is TWiT, This Week in Google, episode 174, recorded November 28th, 2012. Reggae Jeff. This Week in Google is brought to you by the new Squarespace. Squarespace introduces a new content management system, making it faster and easier to create a high-quality website, blog, or online portfolio. Plus, more than 50 new features, including mobile responsive designs. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase, visit squarespace.com and use the offer code TWIG11. It's time for TWiT This Week in Google. Yes, I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. But I do thank our great hosts for struggling through without me. Jeff Jarvis, thank you for hosting while I was gone.
Gina deserves all of the kudos. Gina did a spectacular job and did heavier lifting than I did.
But you did as well. Am I wrong?
Yeah, we both did.
You both did.
We both did. We shared.
As is our want in our kumbaya culture of TWiT. We shared the Gina's suggestion. We shared the hosting of the final.
Jeff,
I'm a collaborator.
That's good. I like it. Did you use Git to keep track of the notes?
That would have been cool.
Yeah,
that would have been
a little code sharing. Gina is at smarterware.org. That's where she blogs. She's also the author of Think Up and founding editor at Lifehacker. Jeff is, of course, a blogger at buzzmachine.com, the author of Public Parts, and a professor of journalism at the City University of New York. Also with us, Aaron Newcomb, who by day slaves at Oracle, but is also the host of a great open source podcast. The best darn open source show. No, that's something else. That darn open source show. OpenSourceShow.com. TheSourceShow.org.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
I'm close. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Nice to have you back.
Thank you.
You were in here earlier for TNT.
I guess this is my TWiT day. I was here for Floss Weekly this morning.
Oh, that's right. Wednesday's Floss Weekly.
Yeah, and so then I stuck around for TNT, and I was just about to leave.
And did Chad grab you?
Yes. He with the big hook. And he's like, oh.
And Aaron came from Sun.
I said, absolutely, I'll stay.
Did you see our interview with Jonathan Schwartz?
Oh, no, I missed that.
Yeah, but he's great.
But that was good. He actually is really good. He gets a lot of flack. But if you've actually talked to him or if you know him, he's actually really, really good. So.
We always liked it when he was CEO of Oracle because he was always outspoken and said stuff. Right. In fact, the way he left Oracle was a haiku on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly.
It was very funny.
Exactly. But did he talk about the patent stuff?
Yeah,
a little bit.
It's
great. Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
If you haven't, was that on Triangulation or?
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah.
Go back a couple episodes.
Go check it out if you missed it because I bet that was really good.
He's a good talker, a very smart guy, and I think he did the best he could to keep Sun afloat. Given he talked a lot about why what happened at Sun and why ultimately they had to sell and how hard they worked to find the right buyer and so forth.
Yep.
So that was fun. Anyway, and is Java your big stuff, or what do you work on there at the Oracle?
Mostly storage. Yep. But storage for the cloud, storage for virtual environments, big data, things like that.
ZFS.
Yep, ZFS. That's what.
Is that still around?
It is still around. Absolutely.
I know you came in on Floss Weekly and talked about ZFS.
That was my first appearance, I think, on the TWiT network.
File system that goes with, does it go with
Solaris.
Does it still? I mean, is there even a Solaris anymore?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact,
Open Solaris.
Well, no, there's actually Solaris is still being developed quite heavily. And Spark is still around. We just had a big Spark anniversary down at the Computer History Museum, which was really fun.
Oh, that's neat. That's the original workstation from Sun. Not the original, but that's a workstation from Sun, right?
Yeah, it's a server now, but it started out as a workstation. And, of course, all the old guys were there. Oh, yeah, I call them the old guys, about the same age probably. But talking about,
the old guys now.
Yeah, the old guys now. But, Bill Joy and all those folks talking about the development of the Spark platform. It was really fun.
I really like ZFS. It's a very modern file system as opposed to the ones that we are saddled with on both Windows and Macintosh and to a lesser degree on Linux. And I would love to see it more widespread. For a while, didn't Apple say they were going to do ZFS?
They did, and then they backed out. I mean, I don't know what happened there, but you can still run it on BSD if you're interested. I'm running it right now on FreeBSD. I just set up a FreeBSD system at home.
Is that what you're running on this Mac?
I am not. This is Ubuntu for the time being, but I actually switched from Ubuntu server at home to FreeBSD just to try it out.
BSD is in many ways a true Unix. It's really probably...
It is. It's a little bit more similar to
a
Unix system.
Yeah.
Yep.
Deserves more attention.
Anyway, we digress.
We do, because this show's about Google. And but I like a little geek talk thrown in on the side there. So I guess we should probably start with a changelog, since I'm sure there's all sorts of exciting new developments in Google land. Ladies and gentlemen,
we like trumpets.
We give you the trumpets.
The Google changelog.
Now, Gina Trapani with the latest features from Google.
Biggest change this week is that Google Tuesday announced that you can insert Google Drive files into your Gmail up to 10 gigabytes.
Yeah,
which is a lot, which is very large files. So in your Gmail Compose window, in the attachment area where you attach a file, there's a new button that says Insert Files Using Drive. So you can send giant files. So they're really pushing on Drive, wanting you to store big files and share them through Gmail now.
I wonder how this impacts the file sharing services like our sponsor ShareFile.
Yeah.
I mean, because, I mean, 10 gigabytes is pretty darn big.
Throwing down the gauntlet, for sure. For sure.
Free.
Exactly. We talked last week, I think, about how the Jelly Bean update, the new version of Jelly Bean, had a little bug in it where the month of December was missing in the People app. So if you went to the People app and you tried to enter a date, there just wasn't a December.
November to January.
Google is returning the month of December to Jelly Bean in a 4.2.1 over-the-air update. I just got mine on the Nexus 7, and I believe it's coming to the other Nexus devices, which also got that Jelly Bean update. Have you guys gotten this update?
I probably have. I haven't looked at my Nexus 7.
No, I haven't got it on Nexus 7 or my brand new, thanks to you, I opened it, Nexus 4.
But wait a minute. Does the 4 have the same problem?
Yeah, this is all the devices that have the new Jelly Bean.
Mm-hmm. Wait a minute. So how would that be? So here's my Galaxy Note 2. This is running Jelly Bean. I did get an update from Samsung recently. So open
is it the 4.1 Jelly Bean or the 4.2 Jelly Bean?
Yeah, because there's two Jelly Beans. There's 4.1 and 4.2.
And it's only the 4.2 that's the problem?
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
And the 4.2 is on the Nexus 7, the Galaxy Nexus, the Nexus 10, the Nexus 4. So I mean, truthfully, not a lot of devices had the new Jelly Bean, so they didn't have this problem. But it was kind of a funny.
That's a great headline.
Embarrassing. It's a great
taking a page from Apple's book. Google downgrades and removes features, taking December out of Jelly Bean. Now you're a programmer. That's a weird bug. Why would that happen? Is somebody write an array and just leave it out?
I honestly cannot imagine how that would happen. I mean, normally you would iterate through a list of months, kind of a pre-populated list of months. I mean, you're generally not going to have a programmer typing out the months, right? And get December. So
that must be what happened.
Yeah, there must be a line of code somewhere.
There's an array.
Someone
January,
put a comment in front of a line of code where they shouldn't have, and then
maybe they commented December out.
Yeah, something.
That's what it is.
They said 0 to 11 instead of or
exactly.
0 to 10 instead of 0 to 11.
That would make sense.
Right.
That would make sense. It's the 12th month.
Yeah.
Right. It's the 12th month. They might have just forgotten the last month. So that update is going out. And I just confirmed on my Nexus 7 that December is now back in the People app.
That makes perfect sense. Then because you don't hard code the names of the month in, but you might you would hard code how many months there are.
But who's checking this stuff?
Well, you'd think that would have been caught.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's fascinating that their test suite didn't catch this, that their QA, I mean, this is a really big bug, so it's kind of funny that it got out there.
So here's what the actual changelog says, according to Biggity Bong in the chat room. Quote, revert number picker should adjust min and max when displayed values are set, a.k.a. Santa is back. It was a number picker.
Plus, min, and max. Yeah, that sounds like somebody cut the array off 1 month too soon. The plusification of everything continues apace. This time it's in Google Play. Google Play reviews. Now, when you leave a review on the Google Play Store, it prompts you to use your Google Plus account and use your full name. And your prior reviews will just be from a Google user.
And the new reviews will now have your picture next to it.
Right, so your picture and your full name go next to your Google Play Store.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I know some people said, well, we should be able to review, we should be able to pan things anonymously, but I think that having your picture and name really puts you on the spot to be honest.
As a developer, I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
No more
really
drive
good for
by
developers.
Trolls reviews.
Yeah, I mean, I can get to some I can contact someone. I'll know who they are at least.
Ooh, that could be bad. See, now there's the other side of it though. So let's say you get a piece of junk software, you write a bad review, and the developer harasses you.
Well, I'm not harasses. I would just let you.
Not you. I'm not saying you would do that, but as some crazed Gina's developer
might, but Gina certainly would not.
No. But so no, I wouldn't. I'm not accusing you of doing that. But
I understand. Yeah, no, I totally understand. I think it's a good thing. Yeah, look, if you're going to post in public something about something, especially if it's a strong opinion, I like the idea of kind of owning your words and at least giving the developer. The Play Store has some other tools for developers to respond to reviews, but I think generally it's a good thing.
Yeah, just don't ever give a bad review of a John McAfee software. Just kidding.
Google Maps is now giving out profile badges to helpful community members. There's that map maker tool that let people report errors in Google Maps. Google Maps just announced that they're going to set up kind of a reward system. So the people who get the most edits get kind of badges to show off that they've contributed back to the.
That's so cool.
Which is cool. I want to see more of this. I want to see more of this sort of gamifying, contributing back to the system and making it better, kind of for everyone. And we talked about this a little bit last week when we talked about Ingress.
Yeah. And so I'm looking in here in my area, there are a number of things that have closed or gone away. And so people will fix that, establish working hours added, phone deleted, address changed, geometry changed. So now you'll get a little. Can you use that on your Google Plus profile? What?
I wonder where this shows up. It must show up on your. Let's see.
Do you get like a special little map maker
it really
badge?
Is kind of Eagle Scouty, isn't it?
I like it.
It is.
I like it too.
It would be great if this showed up on your Google Plus profile. At the very least, it shows up to the other map makers.
Neat.
Yeah.
After Sandy, I wanted to get our neighbors together because we actually are getting together to do a group buy of a whole house generators, among other things. And so I used the new service nextdoor.com, which sounds neat because you can delineate what your neighborhood is, but then they yelled at me and said my neighborhood wasn't big enough. And the next thing that happened was that they had all kinds of addresses. This is a 40-year-old development. They didn't have the addresses in there. And what's amazing was they didn't have the structure to let us fix it. We had to appeal on every address to get them to fix it, which just shows the different way to think. If you're really in platform think, you make something and you realize people are going to make it better with you. If you're like Microsoft, you say, no, we control that.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've used that service too, Nextdoor, and I thought the same thing. I thought it should be, really open for people. Some things were, but I agree. I think it should have been. It could be a great service if you were allowed to go in and do some more things, but it's kind of tightly controlled, and I don't know whether that's because of privacy concerns or.
No, I think it's just what the map data they had. And I said, listen, these addresses are on Google Maps.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yep.
But thinking that way, and that's where Google just culturally shows the difference is that it's opening up those opportunities to fix things, and then it's rewarding people for doing it, which just shows a different attitude from my colleagues in media.
Those old timers in media, they don't know nothing.
Get off our lawn because it doesn't exist.
Last changelog item, you can now edit Sheets, Google Sheets on the go on your iPad, iOS device, or Android device. You can edit Google Docs, but Google Sheets, which is their Google Spreadsheets product, are now editable as well.
Every time I hear that, I think you're going to get the stains out of them and then set them out to dry.
I know Google Sheets does kind of sound.
Hang out the sheets.
You can edit your sheets right on the line out in your yard. Well, if you're crazy like me and you have a holiday spreadsheet going, you can now edit. Yeah, but not for gifts, for the meal. For the meal.
No, well, that's even worse, Gina. Jesus. Menu planning in a spreadsheet.
I saw somebody who had a spreadsheet for seating plan at the wedding.
This is the thing. My mom makes a 7-course fish dinner, which is a traditional kind of Sicilian Christmas Eve dinner, and she had it all in her head.
Oh,
and,
wow.
You know, she's getting older now. My sister and I kind of wanted to take over. So last year we spent the whole time sort of, and my mom has the whole schedule in her head too, like when you stuff the clams and when you shell the shrimp and all this stuff, right? So we made a Google spreadsheet. So it's all
I want to
documented.
be Italian. Oh, I am. I think that's so cool. I just love that. Man. So it's in a spreadsheet?
It is. It's a spreadsheet.
I thought maybe you had done a Google poll. Who's going to bring what? I mean, there's a lot of applications for this.
She uses Google Maps and Street View for the dining room table.
There's an ad. There's a Google ad in here for sure.
Really is.
Yeah.
And that's all I got for the changelog.
The changelog is now complete. I think that's just like TNT is bleeding over into this show. Is what that is. It's coming.
I'm so jealous. You got posters. Gina has an intro and an outro.
We got posters for you. Isn't Jeff on the posters?
No, I wasn't in the posters.
No,
I don't think so.
How did you get left out?
It wasn't every host.
Even my dog is in the posters.
I know. What do you think? How I think it makes me feel, huh?
What is this? What posters?
The posters.
The posters.
From, what's his name? D. Martin? What is his name? Let me see if I can find them.
Yeah, those
All
are
the
really
people
nice.
I should know because...
Yeah, give me a chat room.
Posters.
You got a link to the posters? They're on Google+. So we have a graphic artist who...
MD Talk.
MDTAUK. Oh, that's a common name, it turns out. Search Google Plus for that. Huh.
I didn't mean to get off on this.
No, I want to show I want to show
they're
Gina.
really cool.
She hasn't seen her poster. Martin Anderson is his
There you
name. And let's see, Martin. I'm going to go look through his posters. He's actually doing other people. There's a Dick DiBartolo. Look at that. Can you see that now, Chad? Or can you see my computer?
There we go.
There we go. There's Dick DiBartolo. There's my dog. There's some guy named Javier, but nobody named Jeff Jarvis. I'm sorry to say. There's Scott Wilkinson.
Oh, cute.
Yeah,
Cool.
these are
he does
they're great.
These are great. He just has some technique. They look like they're like silkscreen letterpress.
Was it?
What is the technique? Andrew Main.
Is there a GIMP filter for this?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe he's just pushing a button. I don't know. I think he's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
That's him.
That's him, yeah.
Now there's if I go far enough down, I didn't realize he was doing so many now. This is somebody in our chat room,
and none for us.
but there is one with all of the TWiT hosts except apparently Jeff Jarvis. This is Alex Gumpel.
I thought that was good.
Our Flowmaster studio engineer, looking sharp in his tuxedo. He rented that once, but he's got a lot of mileage out of that. Tony Wang, edit this out. Some guy with a horse.
Ozzy's is very cute.
Yeah, I thought Ozzy's was great. Anyway, thank you, Martin. And
thank you a lot, Martin.
if you could just
made him
throw
for
one
free.
in. He'll throw one in for Jeff. Wait a minute. Let's get a good shot of Jeff. He's not pink today. Let's get a good shot of... Okay, ready? Freeze.
Nice.
Okay, good.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Wait
and
for
bam.
it.
There
Bam.
we
We got it. Okay, there we go. So now Martin has got... That was good. Martin has got it, and he will be, I'm sure, soon offering that for us.
And there's a lot of, I saw the comments on those. A lot of people want to order them.
I want to order them. He's
Yeah.
sending me the originals, the raws.
That's great.
The one of me, okay, actually, Jeff, I just want to point out that you not getting one isn't so bad. It could look like that. I look angry about something. It says King Leo. I don't know. Tony Soprano? That's what leaps to mind there. Do I actually look like that? Maybe that's just me. Anyway, for those listening on audio, this is meaningless. So nowhere in here is a Jeff Jarvis.
I don't know if Gina's in there either.
I don't
I don't see a
looking, I
Gina
don't see
or a
either.
Jeff.
It's okay.
All right.
Father Robert Ballister looking a lot like Psy.
That's great.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
That's Robert Gangnam style. Yeah. What is that style? There's our producer, Chad Johnson. OMG, Chad. What is that style? Is there a name for that?
I mean, it's like vector-based, cell shading.
Yeah, that's what it is. Vector-based cell shading.
Cool.
That's what it is.
I don't know if that's a real thing or not. Friction stir welding.
It's friction stir welding. It's a very, very good technique used for many of the.
Oh, poor Martin. Now that I've used it on Twitter, he says, "I guess I should add Jeff and Gina to the list."
Yeah. I'm not saying anything.
It's a thing he's done for free for all of us.
He's done a lot of people. So thank you, Martin. That's a great one of
harassing
Ozzy.
this poor guy. He does really good work. I love these.
He's going to send me the originals. I'm getting them printed out.
Twitter, what is the technique called? What's the button you push?
Whoop. Still have the
He'll
flash
respond.
on.
The problem with having a conversation with Twitter is it's not instantaneous.
Yeah.
Let's move on. We're going to take a break, come back, and talk about an interesting article about Google and Apple and why, well, Apple's big problem. Google is getting better at design faster than Apple is getting better at the internet. And the solution, according to Patrick Gibson, buy Twitter. Talk about it in just a second. But first, a word from Squarespace, the secret behind exceptional websites. The new Squarespace is here, and man, is it fantabulous. Everything you need to create an exceptional website. It's hosting plus the best software, but best hosting, too. Squarespace hosting never goes down. If you've got a Squarespace site, you could throw people at it. They've got some magic sauce that when their bandwidth is needed, it's there. And so it's just really beautifully done. And then the software is absolutely the best content management software out there. Everything you want, including something very modern. They call it mobile responsive design. You don't have a mobile site that's different from your desktop. You have one site that works great no matter what platform. For everything from a 27-inch screen to a 3.5-inch iPhone 3GS. It looks fabulous. And that's what Squarespace does so well. What's good about this is you get to use the designer templates. You get to customize it. They handle the back end, so it automatically scales. For instance, when you upload an image to a blog post or a portfolio, it automatically makes 7 thumbnails, one of each size, so it can choose the right image to display depending on the screen capabilities of the device looking at it. This stuff is very, very cool. It integrates Twitter, Flickr, LinkedIn, Facebook, everything. So you can make this a live site for yourself. It'd be great for like a basic personal homepage, a blog, but also if you're a photographer, an artist, this is the greatest. Look at the templates. I've got some great portfolio templates. And you could try this right now for free. For 14 days, you don't need a credit card. Just name your site, give it a password, and you've got the run of the place for 14 days. Now, what's nice about that is you can really see how it looks. They've got importers for TypePad, WordPress, Blogger. They just, all the stuff goes in, including all the images, all the links, all the comments. Everything's preserved so you can try something, see how it looks, and then if it's, if it looks good, like, look, this is Qbert. I like this. This is a Pinteresty style portfolio site, sophisticated portfolio template with a masonry style. Oh, that's what they call that, the masonry style layout. Designers and photographers choose it for its contemporary style. Anyway, so try it. And by the way, you could try every single template. It's just a click of the button. Remember CSS Zen Garden and how the content never changed, but the templates would change and it would just be a completely looking. That's what they're doing here with CSS, HTML5, JavaScript. You don't have to know that stuff. It does it automatically. Although, I should point out, because we have a sophisticated audience, if you do know it, they've got a code editor that does automatic syntax color. I mean, they've got all the features for a JavaScript, CSS, programmer to get involved with. Once you decide, yeah, this is for me, check out the prices. This is where it really goes. It's just crazy. This is for hosting plus the software plus everything. Always up to date, always secure because they're maintaining the code for you. The standard is $8 a month when you buy an annual plan, but the one you should look at is the unlimited plan. When you buy a year's worth, and you can buy more and save even more, $16 a month for unlimited galleries, unlimited pages, unlimited bandwidth. So even if suddenly, your site is mentioned on the Super Bowl and 1 million people hit it, no problem. Unlimited bandwidth, won't cost you a penny. Unlimited storage, unlimited. I mean, this is so great. When you buy an annual plan, they also We'll give free domain registration. You get a custom domain, link it up, do all that stuff too. I just think Squarespace is so cool. I want you to try it. Do remember, if you decide to buy, that we've got a deal. TWiG11 is the offer code. So you don't need that just to try it. But when you decide to buy, there'll be an offer code on that page. TWiG11 will get you 10% off that first purchase. Make it a year's purchase. You'll save even more. TWiG11, the offer code. Squarespace.com. Did you guys read this? Now, this is old, so did you talk about this last week? Patrick Gibson's blog. He says the problem, Google is getting better at design. In other words, traditionally, Google were the engineers. They understood the web, and Apple was the design geniuses. They understood product, and there was a difference. But the problem, according to this blog post, is Google's getting better at design faster, and that's obvious, than Apple's getting at web services. And he uses some examples. Apple still can't update its online store without taking it offline.
Web objects.
And that's the problem.
Oh, I thought that was shtick. I didn't think it was a technical reason. I thought that was...
It's because their framework, web objects, which Apple relies on, is 20 years old.
Wow.
Gina, you knew it.
Yeah, I mean, also the iTunes, like the developer portal for iTunes Connect, which is where you update, same thing.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Remember when Game Center was down because everybody was playing...
Letterpress.
Yeah. Brought Game Center down. One game. He says, I love this. iMessage for Mac lives in an alternate dimension in which time has no ordered sequence because these messages come in just randomly. Everything Apple does which involves the internet is a mess, says Patrick. And Patrick used to work at Apple, so I think he kind of has an insider's perspective, except for Safari, which is awesome. WebKit is awesome. Meanwhile, Google has been steadily improving its entire platform. And I think everybody will agree with Jelly Bean, especially with 4.2.
Yes.
Google's for all intents and purposes, caught up. It's smooth, it's elegant, it's simple.
I'm happy to. We didn't talk about this before, and it's true. I agree that Apple's sort of a mess when it comes to web services. And I do agree that Google's getting better at design, but
they're still not Apple.
They're not Apple. And the problem that Google has, and I criticize because I love, and the more I use the new Android 4.2, the more I'm convinced, it's just settings overload.
Yes.
The two different shades. I mean, I went to go take a picture of my daughter with the Galaxy Nexus, and I hadn't taken a picture with it. I've been using the iPhone because the camera is just so fast, and it's just better for babies. But I grabbed the Galaxy Nexus, I went to go take a picture, and I put my finger down on the kind of viewfinder, and I was talking about this with Kevin. This like radial orb shows up, and it's, there's like the white balance and the flash, and there's just all these crazy settings, and my finger happened to move, and I missed the picture. Like the picture was just this kind of blur because my daughter had spit up, by the time I had figured out that I just adjusted the white balance. But I was like, why am I adjusting the white? Like I'm trying to take snap a photo of my daughter, and I worry that Google is stuffing like power user features into OS, like that photosphere and the sliding keyboard. Really cool. I love it. I just question whether or not those should be in the core operating system. And the window shade thing, I'm not happy about. The fact that there's two different window shades now. There's like the user one, and then there's the notifications one. So I worry that Google is
like that.
How do you? Okay, so I don't have that yet. So when I pull down from the top on 4.1, I get notifications.
There's a single window shade notifications. They're awesome, right?
There's two different things.
Oh.
Right? So this one, the boxy one, is going to pull down my Wi-Fi and stuff. It won't work. Yeah. Won't work right now.
I think Google's getting better at typography and color and that kind of thing and smoothness. I don't think they're getting better at simplicity. I think they're getting worse.
Kind of like Windows. It was kind of like the Windows versus Mac thing. Windows was always that way. 8,000 settings, 4 different ways to do any given thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So I think this is a good post. I just thought it was interesting that Patrick Gibson bullet pointed the ways that Apple isn't good at web services, but didn't quite but didn't bullet point all the ways that Google is is getting better at design. I do agree that I think Google is getting better at design, but again, I think it's more about look and feel and less about simplicity. I feel like there's so many settings buttons everywhere, and you see it in the web apps too. Well,
they did take the for example, developer options out of the settings menu in 4.2. So I mean, but I agree there are a lot of other things that window shade thing drove my mom's like, where'd my settings go? I don't know where my settings are anymore. And I was like, oh yeah, you just have to pull down on this other part of the screen, Mom. And so I agree. There are some things that they can clean up, but I think those are iterative things. I mean, I think that'll get better and better. I think that they've shown that they are paying more attention to design, and they're hiring designers. I mean, they've hired a lot of top designers to work on user interface, which they'd never done in the past, it seemed like.
Remember, the premise is not that Google is now better at design, but they're getting better faster than Apple is making progress on web services. Right. And what's going to be more important in the long run, if you can have decent design and your web services work, which is where Google is right now. He points out Google Now, which is just the more I use it, I'm in Australia. It knows that I'm in Australia.
I'm so frustrated with Google Now. It's supposed to give you the weather every single time. It doesn't give it to me. It doesn't give me information.
Your Now is broken. I don't understand why your Now does not work, because mine works great.
I get nothing.
And for instance, there's a card on my Now that is that came by default, but I like it, that said whenever a stock in your portfolio changes by more than 1%, flag it. So Google is up almost $13 today. So I see that. That's what you want, right? Here's my weather. Here's my next appointment. When the Niners play, I will see the Niners are going to play tomorrow. Then after the game, I will see the scores. Actually, during the game, I'll see the score. And this is mostly based on stuff I've searched on, and then you can refine it. There's a menu on all of them so that you can. I think this is a really good example. I think the Google Voice has gotten faster than Siri, right? Am I not right?
Google Voice Search is great. Google Voice Search is fantastic. Yeah.
And it seems like Google's really trying to work on this, right? I mean, they're actually calling people. We talked about this on TNT this morning. I think there's an article in the thing about how to get Google's trying to find the ungoogleable, where they're actually calling people saying, well, what kind of things, were you thinking about today? What kind of things might you have searched for but didn't actually type into the search engine? And so they're trying to broaden this out to capture more of this stuff and bring it into theoretically anyway, bring it into the mobile platform, bring it into Google Now, so that it can offer you more and more information that will be useful to you, so that it keeps you locked into the Google verse.
Which is the point I've made in the show before, and it's now become fully true with me, is that I've said in the show before, that it's the services that led me to the hardware. The hardware and the design are good enough to make me happy. So I have not picked up my iPhone or my iPad.
Good enough.
Well, that's what I think what he's saying is it's past. There's a critical mass point. It's past. It's no longer so geeky you can't bear it. The design has gotten so much better that I can now say this is pretty nice. And the hardware is they're having some sense with hardware too. Surprisingly, who would think? So I'm now, we'll talk about this a little later, I guess, but I'm now fully in the Google world. I'm my second.
How's your Chromebook going?
It's great. In fact, because one thing Google is really, really bad at is running stores. Radio Shack would do a better job running the store than Google does. So I went nuts. It was like that time we were buying something. I forget what it was, Leo, on the show, and we were all trying to buy it before. So I couldn't get the 16 gig, and I went nuts, and I finally got the 8 gig. And
that's the Nexus 4 you're waving there.
Nexus 4, right? And I debated whether to even open it. And Gina said, "How can you not open it? You got a box there. Open it, you fool."
You know what? You can't get it now. You're good. You got it.
No, you can't. It's back up, and so you can get it. A few weeks. You got to wait weeks, but you can get it now. So, but they couldn't even do that. It was on and off in minutes and gone. And then the same for the Chromebook. So all you could get in the Chromebook, which I had to go through, all kinds of hoops to get the non-Wi-Fi, the non-3G version. So I opened that, started using it, and then a friend wants it for his daughter because the 3G version, I think, arrived today with UPS at my home, which I had ordered on Amazon ages ago. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, they said, it's going to be in December before you get this. I got it.
Wow.
You can't get that. You can't get the Chromebook. Now, having said all that, the report so far on this is that it works magnificently. I mean, it's the Chromebook hardware is not the greatest, and we'll talk about some other advances in a second on that. The trackpad's a little bit sluggish. It doesn't have a caps lock key, and so on. But the truth is that I am living 100% in Android and Chrome and I have not had any need to do anything else. The 2 times that I've almost fallen off the wagon were both stupid and wrong. The first was I was writing a piece for a German newspaper that wanted a character count, not a word count. I couldn't get that in Gmail, and I should have, of course, gone to Docs. Instead, I thought I got to open a Word. Well, I was wrong. Docs had it even better. The second time today was I was trying to get a new book out of Columbia and NYU that's in the EPUB format into my damn Kindle software, and I couldn't do it. I finally got that worked out, but I thought I had to download an app outside of Chrome. I was wrong in both cases. So far, 3 weeks, I have been living purely inside Chrome and inside Android and been pleased as punch and had no reason, none, to go outside.
But you're on Skype right now, right?
That's the only. The irony here is that this show is the only thing that's causing me to go out. And Chad and I are going to do an experiment.
Are we going to?
We could call him on Google Talk.
All right.
Call it Google Talk.
All right. Let's do it right now.
Do you want to?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Okay.
You want to do it? Are you set up, Jeff, to do that? You probably can't use your mic and all that stuff. Or maybe you can.
No, you can. Know. So let me walk through what Jeff is going to have to do. You're going to have to add me to your chat contact list on your Gmail window, and then I'm going to start up the Google Talk within the browser.
It sounds like you've done this before.
Yeah, not on air, not on TWiT.
Just in general.
Just in general.
Okay.
So
it's 200. Now you can't get it anymore, unfortunately, because the Acer that they're selling now is not as well made. It's cheaper. It's $200 instead of $250.
There's a story coming out. We might as well jump to it right now. Story in the rundown that Google is reportedly working on its own branded Google hardware for the Chromebook with a touchscreen.
Although the Samsung, everybody agrees this is very nicely made, right?
Samsung is very nicely made. I like it quite a bit. It's as light as an Air. It fits in the same.
Do you think you would be as happy, or maybe even happier, if it were Android instead? See, part of my question is, why does Google have two? You said this, I think, Aaron.
Yep.
2 OSs. What's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the difference was always keyboard. You know, that the Chrome OS was for keyboard and Android was for touchscreen.
But you can use Android with a keyboard, as Asus and many others have demonstrated.
Yep. Here's the problem. File structure.
There's a file system on Android.
Not very good. It's pretty crappy. And I just went through it today trying to get this EPUB thing in, and it's a real pain. And so that's one. Second,
is there a file system on Chrome OS? Is it exposed?
Oh, that's a good question.
I don't know
if
on
it's
Chrome OS?
exposed.
When you upload, if you put a camera card, or at least on older versions, you put, like, say, an SD card, you could open a file and browse folders. Yeah. Okay. Right, Jeff?
I think that's pretty much it. What am I getting? Are you calling me?
Sorry, I was that hit your phone. It's supposed to hit your Gmail.
I tell you, the multitasking Jeff Jarvis is doing right now is quite impressive.
I'm very sorry.
Because as he's delivering a story, he's apparently setting up G-Talk.
No, I'm not. I'm not doing crap, and I'm
So I'll talk. You work. China Times reports Google intends to launch Chrome OS netbooks with touch screens. Now that I'm intrigued by. Compal, which is a Taiwan-based manufacturer, is tasked with the manufacturing, according to this report, China Times. And it's not Acer, it's not Asus, it's Google placing the order itself. Internal components begin shipping to Compal this month, which means the product itself will probably not ship, according to the China Times, until 2013.
Chrome OS is not a touch operating system, though. I mean, when you think about the way that the tap to zoom and gestures, like, none of that stuff is in there. You know, when you think about, like, what
maybe it's an Android notebook.
Ooh.
Yeah, I just don't feel like Chrome OS with a touchscreen would make any sense, because it just was never designed for a touchscreen.
I really want Android. That would be now we're talking.
Yeah.
Now we're cooking with gas.
You know the thing about the Chromebook is, when I've shown it to people, I've shown it to parents, and parents go nuts for it. In fact, Ms. Howell has one for her kid because her school is entirely Google Docs. So parents of kids say this is the perfect first laptop for them, somewhat controllable, and so on and so forth. And then I showed it out at one of the media companies I work with, and my first thought was, local correspondents and reporters. And then the head of the business came in and said, "Oh hell, sales people, Jesus, $249. I want to get this for all my salespeople." And so it's again, it's a good enough thing. It's credible to people. People aren't looking at this and saying, "Oh, that's a toy. Oh, it's nothing." They're saying, "Yeah, I live in the browser. Yeah, $249. Yeah." And I'm not even upset that Google may come out with a new machine next year because the price is so reasonable. Fine, I can buy 8 of these for the price of a loaded MacBook Air. I'll buy a couple.
I wonder if the acceptance is the netbook factor. There's a price factor, and people will get by the, a couple of months they'll go, oh, this was a mistake, as they did with netbooks, or if there really is genuinely something going on. You think this is better made than the netbooks that you saw, the yes. Samsung? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a bit plasticky.
Yeah.
The cover can rub a little bit. As I say, the trackpad is sluggish.
It's good for kids and dogs.
But it starts up like that,
yeah.
Of course. And it's simple. The beautiful thing is, so I'm going to get a new machine tonight, right? I already wiped the old machine. What did I do to wipe the old machine? I hit one button, it's wiped.
Yeah.
Tonight I'm going to put the machine. I'm going to put in 2 screens. I'm putting in my language and password. And then, boom, it is fully loaded with everything that I need. It automatically downloads all of my Google Docs to the machine. I use the Gmail app, so I get all my mail offline. I mean, I've got to push some things. I've got to try web video and things like that. But it's just so incredibly easy. I think it's also the ideal grandma machine, henceforth.
Really? As opposed to, say, an iPad?
To install. There's nothing to do. Grandma, you use a browser? Yes, I do. Okay, Grandma, here's a machine. That's all it does. Oh, thanks.
If Grandma wants a keyboard.
What about photos? What about photos of the grandkids? Right? Like
Picasso Web.
But that, right. So so I'm thinking, like, my mother-in-law needs a new computer, but photos is a big thing for her. So she would just have to upload everything to Picasso Web, basically.
Yeah, or you would.
Or I would. Yeah.
Poor Chad thinks I have the Chromebook with me. I don't have the Chromebook with me because I wiped it for the people I'm selling it to.
Oh.
Wait a minute. I thought you liked it. You're selling it?
Because I got the higher-end version.
Ah. So you don't have anything with you?
No, I don't have it with me. So I'm sorry, Chad.
Oh, no problem.
So we're not going to do this then.
We could have gone through the crisis. I also used
we could call you on Google Talk.
No, but there's no point. I wanted to use it on the Chromebook.
Right.
Yeah.
The Chromebook. We'll try it by the next show.
Next show, you'll have a Chromebook.
Yeah, let's schedule a time to test.
Okay.
There's no Ethernet port, though, right, Jeff?
No.
It's just wireless.
No, the weird thing is it has a HDMI port. And it has 2 USB, one fast.
So you could hook it up to a big screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Padre SJ raises the specter, and by the way, I was on this cruise. Sal Segoyan, who works at Apple, he's the Apple script guy and the automator guy at Apple, and is a great guy. He's a lecturer, and his nephew, I think, Chris Segoyan, is a very outspoken security expert who I think has raised Sal's consciousness. And Padre SJ and Sal have both said the same thing, which is the problem with cloud services is that enterprises are very nervous that by putting your data in the cloud, you're essentially giving it to the government, or who knows, but the government at the very least, because of this precedent of search warrantless access to this data.
Changed, and also it's an issue across borders. So one of the stories in the rundown today is that Google is now allowing European ventures to decree that their data shall be stored on a European server. So a lot of people, even in Canada, Canadians can't stand the idea of their data being on American servers because of our terrorism laws.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the basis of so much of the privacy talk out of both the EU and Canada is American anti-terrorism and Google and your data on Facebook and Google being here. So Google just changed this today, where European companies can say, nope, they won't know what country they're in, but they'll know they're in the warm confines of the EU.
We should explain that Padre SJ is Father Robert Ballister, who's the host of our Enterprise show this week in Enterprise Tech. So Robert, he's in the chat room right now, but Robert, do you, when you talk to enterprises, are enterprises leery of using third-party cloud services for this reason? Because they're afraid that in effect it's, I understand if you're in Canada that you'd be, but what if you're a U.S. enterprise? I guess he says the problem is that the problematic precedent is the mega upload case where the Department of Justice said, we didn't seize data, we seized servers that happened to have data on it. Therefore, we didn't need a search warrant for the user's data that was on mega upload. So he says that means as an enterprise user, I have to worry about every user on the servers that I share. So if in other words, if you're on if a Google Docs server is subpoenaed by the DOJ because of one bad actor on that server, and your data is on there, the DOJ's position is, well, we got the server, and we can look at anything that's on there. That seems terrifying to big business, any business.
Well, there's also compliance issues in general.
It may violate government regulations.
Right. I mean, it may or it may not, depending on how you define it. But certainly, companies that I talk to are worried mostly about compliance issues. If you're a financial company, Citibank, something like that, you're probably big enough to run your own cloud services inside your corporate network anyway. And even if you wanted to go out, you probably couldn't, just because you would be worried about the compliance issues.
Well, and that's what Chris Sagoyan was arguing, is that really, if you're going to use the cloud, it should be your cloud. You need to control those servers. Yep. You can't let some third party's cloud. But I guess you could encrypt and then upload.
You could encrypt it.
It breaks a lot of the features, though, of some of these services, because they can't look into the data. And
well, not only that, but if you encrypt before there are algorithms and things in the networking that compress the data, right?
Right.
So if you encrypt on your end,
slows it down,
and then you can't compress it because all the numbers are jumbled up. So you can't compress, so it ruins your throughput usually up to the cloud. So there's other issues as well.
Interesting. I presume Google wants to address this. That they're certainly making an outreach to enterprise. I guess one way is to let companies have their servers in international locations.
Is that a setting, or do I have to call my Google representative to change that?
I don't know. The story's in there. It's under. I put together. Oh, it was changed. I had a whole bunch of things together.
Here it is. Google says a ZDNet story. Google Cloud lets customers park their data in Europe. Jack Clark for CloudWatch. Announced on Monday, along with a range of other improvements to the company's cloud services. If you're using App Engine, Cloud Storage, Google Cloud SQL, and soon Google Compute Engine, you can deploy your application's data and virtual machines to European data centers. Customers will not be able to select where in Europe.
Right.
Just somewhere in Europe. I guess if you're in the EU, you're in the EU, right? Unless you're required by law to keep your data in the country that you are coming from,
right? Which is part of it, and there's also the privacy stuff coming up. Is that one of the proposals is that Europeans' data must be held under EU standards anywhere in the world. So one easy way to do that and firewall off the higher, more difficult standards of Europe is to say, okay, we're going to store Europeans' data in Europe, and we can do whatever we want elsewhere.
Very interesting. Let's see what else is going on. There's, according to Tom's Hardware, a Nexus Chromebook for first quarter of next year. Is that the same one? The China Times.
That's the same one.
Okay.
That's the same one.
Okay.
Maybe, maybe the Nexus
Nexus
brand
then is going to be their Google's hardware brand.
I think it is, right? Yeah.
So, by the way, the stupid thing, when I did open up the Nexus 4, here's my confession.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, well, it just doesn't feel quite the same, quite as good in the hand, and I don't know what's going on. There's this sharp edge here. I know this whole thing about how
take the plastic cover off, did you?
Yeah, well, that was I took the top and the bottom off. There were little tiny plastic slivers along the aluminum here on the side, and I didn't even know they were there. I thought, this is so strange. It's going to get dirty, and I just don't like that. I'm stupid.
Now,
so finally I messed it up, and I said, "Oh, it is not broken. That's the plastic." I took it all off, and it feels pretty good now.
We've been trying to get one, and now if you want the 8 gigabyte version, it's 8 to 9 weeks in the Play Store as I speak, and the 16 gigabyte says 4 to 5 weeks. So I know we were seeing some people say, "Oh no, it's available now." We rushed over yesterday. Supposedly it was available now, but I guess that's.
Man, yesterday it was.
They sold out again.
Yeah, they had all kinds of trouble yesterday.
Yeah, by available, it was available to buy, not.
But nobody was able to buy it.
Well, no, we were able to purchase it. You couldn't even purchase and place an order before.
So available means you can get it in 4 to 5 weeks.
Exactly. And Tony already got one. Tony's bought one.
Oh, he's already. So I won't buy one.
It's up to you.
I like it that they're taking a page from the Apple book and they're selling a $20 bumper.
Yeah, I know. They're calling it. I noticed that. They're calling it the same thing that Apple called it.
Well, that's all profit, baby. That's a nickel worth of plastic right there. Unbelievable.
Ridiculous. If you made it to supposedly be so hand candy, then why would you put the rubber bumper around it?
It kind of makes me feel like they must have an antenna problem.
No. The problem is it's glass front and back. So smart ass. So,
well,
it's
easier
sold
to break
out.
without the bumper.
Sold out.
Sold out. $20.
I like the look of that back, but I don't understand why they put a glass.
I don't either.
I mean, you already have a liability with the front being glass, and then you add glass to the back.
How can you be sold out of a piece of plastic? I could call somebody in China right now and have 1 million of those ready by next week.
Yeah,
I swear to God.
Let's kickstart it.
How could you be sold out? That is, I don't understand. I'm missing something. Either this sounds a little bit like a marketing ploy. How could you be sold out of a molded piece of plastic?
Because this is where they don't know how to take orders in advance, and they don't know how to do inventory. There's a lot they don't know about retail. There's a lot.
Like call somebody in China. You know, just call Tim Cook and ask him. Say, Tim, if you wanted to make a million bumpers by next week, what would you do? They probably made 10 of them.
Not to be mean, I feel like I'm being really critical of Google the show, but between the Q and the Chromebook, I mean, they've
really
dealt
don't
with
get
excess
this.
inventory
problems.
They have not had the problem of being sold out, really, so far. So, they're getting there.
They're getting there. They're getting to the good part. Sold out. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm really happy with the Galaxy Note 2. I am really, really happy with this. So I don't feel too much of an urge.
What did you do in Australia? Did you get a local
I brought
cinema?
this. I brought, I wish I had. And in fact, I found out later, I talked to a Telstra rep. He said, oh, yeah, this works at sea for like miles. I could have used it much of the trip. But then we went to New Caledonia, which is part of the French protectorate or something. And I don't know what I would have done there. So I paid a lot of money for...
Every time I think of New Caledonia, I think of McHale's Navy.
McHale's Navy. Everybody does.
Well, not our fellow hosts on this
Only
week's
us
show.
aged people. The well-aged people. We know.
On Wikipedia as fast as I can.
She doesn't even know what McHale's Navy is.
No, she doesn't know that at all.
No idea.
Have you heard of Ernest Borgnine? May he rest in peace,
Captain
Gina?
Binghamton?
Aaron, help me
I had
out
this
here.
problem last time with you, Gina, with Battlestar Galactica, or with
come on, she's heard of
no,
that.
not Battlestar Galactica. It was Buck Rogers and Twiggy.
yeah.
Remember, I was saying,
Twiggy.
no, don't you remember Twiggy? Because somebody was doing baby, and I was like, oh, that's Twiggy.
I can see why you don't know this. This ran from 1962 to 1966.
I'm like, Joel
was a good show.
McHale, he does the suit. He's on Community.
No. See,
Yeah, I wasn't born yet.
Yeah, I saw reruns, but I never saw the show. So,
but the idea was that the Captain Binghamton, their boss, was stationed in Noumea, New Caledonia. But that's because the entire United States fleet was for the South Pacific was based there. That
may be the worst detour I've ever caused on this show.
I love Joel McHale.
Sorry.
Okay.
Did you know that Fred Astaire introduced television audiences to the McHale character?
Oh.
Did you know that? Because it was part of Alcoa Presents in 1962. He was in a non-existent island, Taratupa. Actually, there is a Google tie-in there. Because after I get back, there's a story that Google Maps has an island that doesn't exist in New Caledonia. Apparently, we sailed right through it. There's no island there. And they can't quite figure out why. All the maps have this island. It's called Sandbar, something like that. Doesn't exist. I thought I was just there.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I didn't see it. I looked. We did see a total eclipse. That is cool. If you ever get to see a total eclipse.
Yeah.
That in this day and age where everything you could go on YouTube and watch a total eclipse, it's not the same, kids. You can't a total eclipse on the TV, on the YouTube, on the Twitter. It's not the same because you're standing there. It's 6 a.m. It's almost 7 a.m. You're standing there. It's getting a little dark, and then all of a sudden, it was funny because there's so much power from the sun. Even a sliver of the sun, it's still a daytime. Then all of a sudden, it's like somebody turned the lights out. It is actually kind of a creepy, like something's wrong feeling. You could see why primitive peoples went crazy. Somebody turned out the lights. And you don't know if it's going to come back or not. I mean, I knew.
It's the same for us when the internet goes out.
Yes, and that was another thing. There's no internet at sea. Now there is, but it's very slow. Might as well not be any.
Well, doesn't it pay like 60 cents a minute or something? Some ridiculous
It's
rate?
25 cents a minute. You don't pay by the... and the reason they charge you by the minute is because it's so damn slow that it takes an hour to get an email. So they got you. They got you. It's fine. It was a very good experience for me. But I'll tell you, you realize, and I think the Chromebook would have been pretty useless, that without internet connectivity, even a normal computer kind of is reduced to useless.
It was predicted that you would say that, Leo, yes.
But a cloud computer, not so good. So while I was down there, there was a case going on.
Yeah.
The Australian courts, Google was being sued in a libel case and lost.
The stupidity of governments and courts, we're going to get to Germany in a minute again.
Shocking.
It's just astounding, the lack of understanding of how this works and what this is. They're holding that Google is responsible for anything bad that Google points to, which means that Google can point to nothing.
Milorad Trkula is a music promoter. There is somewhere somebody put a website up that linked him with criminal figures in Melbourne. He's never been involved in criminal activity, but he did get shot in a restaurant in 2004. His lawyers wrote to Google in 2009 asking for the article, which included a number of images, to be removed. Google said, in line with our policies on content removal, you should contact the owners of the website because we can't remove it. So he sued Google. Jury, there's the problem. Jury concluded the search engine was the publisher of the images of Trkula and related information. And Google's defense was innocent dissemination. How many times have I said that? But it only... I'm sorry. I still have the mind of a 12-year-old. I'm sorry.
I'll stop before I disseminate.
Said that protected them only, that's right, only until they were put on notice that there was defamatory content. At that point, the jury said you should have taken it down. Now, this guy had already won $250,000 against Yahoo, which did actually host the site, and Google had to pay $200,000.
I presume they will appeal.
It's kind of stunning.
It really is.
Yeah.
The idiocy is spreading all around. And Google is constantly the bad guy in all this stuff. Let's go.
Well, because they're the #1 search engine.
I wonder if they argued the cache that like Google was hosting it because it was caching images. I wonder if that came into it at all.
Sophisticated for them, Gina.
It worked more like this. I searched for his name, and pictures of him showed up on the results. So it's Google's fault.
You should have done that in an Australian accent. You blew it up.
I did, and I'm not going back.
Okay, thank you.
So now we fast forward to Germany. Willst du auch in Zukunft finden, was du suchst?
The Leistungsschutzrecht is being read in the Bundestag tomorrow. First reading. It by all accounts will go toward and become law. This is the ancillary copyright that says that Google must pay publishers, Google and others, unknown others, could be bloggers, have to pay. There's no fair use, fair comment legislation on the books there, and so for the privilege of sending someone traffic by quoting them and linking them, you're going to have to pay. This is a horrible mashup of dying media companies, and I know a lot of people who are doing this with government. Now, Google finally decided to speak back, and there's a video you may want to show with no sound necessarily on that shows what they're doing. It's defend our net, defend your net.
Verteidige dein Netz. And we can cut the music on this.
Cut the music,
but this is showing people searching the net.
And in my post, I translate what it says at the end, with only some reliability, of course, where they say, come on, post. Why do I get these redirect messages out of sheets? Very upsetting.
You didn't hang them up properly.
Between the sheets.
My recommendation is a little bit of bleach.
I need some more starch.
And, of course,
That's I'm waiting to hear that somebody's business plan needs more starch in their sheets. For more than 10 years, says Google, anytime you want, you can find what moves you. A planned law will now change that. Do you want that? Take action. Defend your net. Continue to find what you seek. And the petition, which they say I think they've gotten 25,000 signatures on. But then a friend of mine in the German market said that this was actually a PR blunder on Google's behalf, because what the publishers are doing now and the lawmakers are doing now is that anybody who's against this stupid law is now, well, you're a Google friend, right? That's a bad thing to be in Germany because Google is big and capitalistic and American and technological. And I know the Germans are going to come after me and get mad at me, but fine. Prove it by getting rid of this stupid-ass law.
That's because you're a Google friend, you little stinker.
Ich bin ein Google.
Ein Google friend. What's wrong with being a Google friend, by the way? Is friends fanboy? Is that the same as fanboy?
Well, it just means that you're like this big capitalistic American enterprise. And I know people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but every time I go there, I get, well, Google makes too much money. Google has too much power. Google's too this. Google's too that. And this law is stupid, and your publishers are taking you for a ride. They're taking free speech for a ride. They're taking the net for a ride. They're going to devalue the link. They're going to make Germany into a backwoods of technological innovation because no technology company is going to want to develop there, damn it. So if you think I'm wrong, fine. Get this law defeated. Tech people rise up. That's not what's happening.
Yeah.
So Google trying to do nothing on this and on the ITU, on both. And this is really interesting to me that finally this week Google is fighting back on a few fronts. On calling an alarm on the ITU, which we can talk about in a second, on the Leistungsschutzrecht in Germany. By the way, did you know that there was a reggae made of me saying that on this show?
What?
Wait a minute. I got to search for Reggae Jeff.
Sorry, we got to see this. I want you to continue, but we got to see the reggae.
Stop the show.
Stop the show. Everybody pause.
Why reggae? Here it is.
Know.
Reggae. I got it. Let me find it here. You tweeted it. Reggae me. This is YouTube. Leistungsrecht.
Quickly. Leistungsschutzrecht. But you're going to hear that in a minute.
Oh, skip the commercial.
Okay,
in 3, 2, 1. Now, we're probably going to get pulled from the internet because of this, but go ahead. YouTube blocked a show of ours.
The Leistungsschutzrecht. The Leistungsschutzrecht.
What?
The Leistungsschutzrecht.
Why reggae?
It actually works. It really works.
It does work.
The Leistungsschutzrecht.
Did this just come up today?
The pinkest reggae artist in the world.
The Leistungsschutzrecht.
October 6th.
I love the chat as the lights going.
I need a spleef. Give me a blood bond. Yeah. Beautiful.
Jamming.
The Leistungsschutzrecht.
done by a German.
Yes.
Awesome.
And what is Leistungsschutzrecht stand?
That's ancillary copyright law. That's the law that we're trying to fight. Which they don't even try to say it. They just say LSR.
That's funny.
Okay, thank you. That made my made the show.
That's good. That's when you know you're internet famous.
That beats a fake Twitter account.
Oh, absolutely.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
Right. So you got this thing going on. It's spreading to France. It's spreading elsewhere in the world, shall we say, where you have publishers saying, hey, they're doing it in Germany. Let's go after Google and stop them from linking to us, which, of course, any publisher can do today. But they're trying to go and say, no, Google, link to us and pay us. It's like cable must carry. Now, if every publisher left Google, Google's no worse off. Google's news is no big deal. They've got other sources of news. They'll be fine. But the publishers will hurt themselves. But worse, they're going to hurt the internet. They're going to hurt the link.
Yeah.
And God, I I want out of it, or else either that or I want a nice hit on some drugs. And
it just seems obviously wrong. I mean, it's just amazing. Yeah.
But it's man, it is spreading in quarters. I can't say, but it's spreading in quarters that surprise me.
Yeah,
and it's dangerous. And it's the same with Google calling the alarm over the ITU. They are now saying, "Watch out, your internet's at risk." And yes, the ITU has to be. We showed a video last week, Leo, of kind of what is the ITU. The meeting is happening, I think, next week.
It's actually this week, I think.
This week. Governments, telephone companies.
The International Telecommunications Union. And because it's a UN chartered group, people are saying, watch out, the UN wants to take over the Internet. And Russia has been kind of pushing this, among others. Yeah.
An email leaked with kind of a secret strategy for what to do here. It's a step at a time. No, out of this meeting, we won't lose the Internet. But it's a step at a time where our Internet needs to be defended, people, from these dangers. And, yeah, we don't want to raise the bat alarm, the bat signal, every single time to the same level of alert and fear. But if we ignore too many of these things, then just one by one, it's going to happen. Now,
I don't know if you probably didn't talk about this because Michael Geist, who is one of the really smart guys, he's in Canada on this subject, wrote an article in the Toronto Star that says the ITU meeting is actually, there is more at stake here than who's in charge of the Internet. It really is the issue of the European Union ISPs asking for a reframing of how the Internet works. They want it. They're promoting something called sender pay. This is something that's come up before, and it's actually come up in the Google context. I think it was it Verizon or AT&T who said, Google really ought to pay for all the Internet bandwidth that they're using.
Even though, of course, they already do pay.
They do pay. Right. Just as you pay for your access to the superhighway, they pay for their access to the superhighway. But what is happening is big ISPs, let's say Comcast, Verizon, AT&T, would like Google to pay them for access to their customers. And that's what sender pay is. It's really double dipping. It's saying, yeah, you pay to get on the Internet, but if you want to talk to Leo, who's a Comcast user, then you're going to have to pay us extra. Otherwise, you're going to be on a kind of a secondary channel.
Which is the essence of net neutrality.
The essence.
Because we do have some net neutrality in the U.S. of some sort, and that's being challenged as well. But in Europe, they basically don't. And so the telecoms see an opportunity here. So, so they may not, Russia may not take over the Internet and change what can go over it. But bit by bit, piece by piece, bits, if every bit is created equal, and if any bit is detoured, stopped, tariffed, anything, then no bit can be presumed to be free.
Right.
That's the essence of what makes the net the net.
Yeah, this is against an open Internet. Mm-hmm. It's the European Telecommunications Network Operators Association, or ETNO. They're 41 European telecoms, and they want their members to receive, quote, fair compensation for things like YouTube and Netflix.
Don't you love that word? It's
fair.
The UK has been going after Google on of you don't pay your fair taxes. Well, we pay what's legal. Well, yes, it's legal. You're right, it's legal, but it's immoral.
You should pay more.
Fair is a word like creepy.
Actually, it really, I don't think you should worry about Google or Netflix. They can afford to pay. I mean, they don't want to, but they could afford to. What it really impinges on is companies like ours, where we would like equal access to you so that you can listen to our audio and watch our video and see our streaming. And if we had to pay Comcast and AT&T and Verizon and Telstra and Orange and everybody down the line for access to you, we'd be out of business. Yeah. So a free and open Internet promotes the kinds of stuff you're listening to and watching right now. That's important.
And on the tax end too, if suddenly you had governments coming after you, I mean, you should be so rich as to have them coming after you. But
I'm not using the Irish sandwich or the
the Dutch loop,
the Dutch loop, or whatever. All these tricky little. I'm not big enough to do that yet.
But nonetheless, at some point, someone may argue, and I don't want to let this cat out of the bag, that you're making money off people watching you in other countries. Ergo, you should pay these other countries money, and the Internet just can't operate that way. It's precious, and it won't.
Yeah.
Should there be some sort of regulatory body, though, that's outside of all government, purview that kind of oversees this?
Well, that's what I wonder. And until recently, it was the U.S. Commerce Department, right?
Right.
And through ICANN and IATA before that. But it wasn't, it was only governance in terms of domain names and IP addresses and who gets what. Mm-hmm. Is there? Do we need to govern the internet, and how would that be?
If anyone can claim sovereignty over the internet is not the internet. Period. Done. It cannot
I agree.
be. It's an architecture. It's a free and distributed architecture that is protean and will change. And if you try to lock it down and believe you know what it is, then you're going to have that problem. A lot of this talk is symbolic, right? The China People's Daily. In fact, I tried to send this link to you when you were on TWiT on Sunday. Was arguing that in this ITU thing that because we in America control all these domains and things, we control the net and it's part of our propaganda war against the world. So it's being painted that way. But the truth is we don't control it either. All we've done so far is do a surprisingly good job of protecting it from control. And that's what our role has been.
But I can understand if you're another country. Now, of course, Russia and China want to control the internet in a way that actually keeps their people from seeing information. I'm sure Egypt and others would like to do the same. But I can also understand that Great Britain or France or Germany or somebody that wants free internet access worries about U.S. control of the internet. Mm-hmm. I mean, we didn't invent the internet. We invented TCP/IP, but Tim Berners-Lee, a Brit in Switzerland, invented the World Wide Web. I mean, this is a global phenomenon.
But the UK, let's take the UK on for a moment. Number one, people are getting arrested for jokes they make in Twitter there. Number two, there's a huge 2,000-page report coming out tomorrow that's going to argue, reportedly, the Leveson Commission, out of all the Murdoch sins, is going to argue to regulate the press. Well, who's the press? We're all the press. So you don't have a First Amendment there. You do here. There's a preeminence of speech here. I've started reading a wonderful book, and I'm going to forget the title of it. It's a Canadian sociologist who's done field work with geeks in San Francisco, and it's kind of wonderfully perfect. And she, I'm trying to call it up here if I can get it fast enough. But she talks about the competition of speech, coding freedom, the ethics and aesthetics of hacking.
Yeah,
Gabriella Coleman, and it's wonderful so far. But there's a war of speech versus copyright, of speech versus privacy, of speech versus decency, of speech versus government control of things. And the one thing about America is we've got a First Amendment. And to me, that's a necessary protection for what the net is.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I also am somewhat sympathetic of other countries who fear American hegemony.
Oh, you just got brainwashed when you were out with those odds.
Well, I mean, I'm not impressed with how Australia or Germany or France are handling the internet either.
Right.
So that's the problem. I think you need some basic engineering regulation, and that's what the ITU is supposed to do, and the IEEE, which is some basic engineering regulation. So you have an agreement about what an IP address is, and
exactly
how that works. But stick with that. That's it.
Right. I mean, that's kind of what I was talking about. It seems like this shouldn't necessarily belong to any one government or anyone. Certainly, governments have sovereignty; they can shut down things. Like China does that, right? But I think that there needs to be kind of a governing body or an agency or an organization that protects the internet, right? That protects, puts forth standards and says, "Look, this is what it means, and we're going to protect this."
Should it be the United Nations? But I don't know who else. There is no other multinational agency,
right?
I don't know.
Why does it have to be, okay? So back order this. Build this from the end. Is there any besides ICANN? What regulation is needed? What's the harm that comes if there isn't a body? Right. The internet is a protean beast that manages to work as long as we agree to TCP/IP,
right,
and DNS,
right.
So what else do you need?
Well, I'm thinking there could be some things that come along, if there's hackers or whatever, somebody's taking advantage of something, there could be something that you want to put in there that says, look, it's just like any other community, right? I mean, you say, look, community members don't do these things to other community members. I mean, and so I'm not saying that it should be regulated in that way, but really it should be protected for everyone. Is kind of how I'm thinking of it. And it doesn't even have to be an international or official international body. I mean, why can't we set up something with memberships from all over, people from all over the place that have that people agree have goodwill towards getting this done.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't I call in public parts. I call for a discussion of principles of what we're trying to protect in the net. I think it's an important discussion to have. I absolutely agree with everything you're saying in that sense. But in the end of the day, I never want to have a constitutional convention of the net. I never want to have a constitution of the net. I don't want to have a legislature of the net. I don't want laws of the net
because we don't need it.
Yeah,
exactly. And because once you have that, then someone has exerted control over the net.
But the ITU has had control over the net. This is not new.
Right.
So people are saying, oh, the ITU, but they've always had. It's the International Telecommunications Union. They were formed in the 20s, or maybe, 1890s to regulate the telegraph system. Right. They've always had some control. That's an engineering.
What control do they have over the net? The Internet.
Yeah.
What kind of control do they have over the Internet today? Telephone system, yes. Telephone numbers, yes.
I think they control
no, because
protocols. Do they not?
ICANN is not.
Well, ICANN is merely assigns numbers.
Assigns numbers, right.
Mm-hmm.
I know many protocols are determined. I don't know what the ITU's role is in the Internet.
Chat room.
That's the ITU. Part of the problem is that the ITU works in secret. And it's heavily influenced by telecoms, and so they're probably not the people you want to run the thing. But so, for instance, who says the IEEE or the W3C should have domain over this? Is it just by convention? It's just the other engineers go, okay, yeah, let this TCP/IP thing. This is good. Let's do that.
Well, I think so. I think a group of people say, hey, look, this is great, but we need to organize this somehow. So let's develop this organization, whether it's like
so maybe it is a power grab from the ITU.
It is an attempt to grab indeed, but again, one other story I read says that the ITU being a UN body is a body of consensus, that we have the European.
But so is WIPO. I mean, the problem is that they're heavily influenced by big money incumbents.
Yes,
and
so we have to constantly try to throw light on them.
Yeah.
And no one's allowed into these rooms.
Ironically, Google is a big money incumbent, but they're worried about it.
Well, that was the argument that's being made in Germany right now, is that Google is haughty and uppity and acting like it is the Internet and protecting the Internet, and it's not the Internet. Well, right, it's not. I absolutely agree with that. But show me somebody who's doing a better job of protecting it at this point from the likes of you, media in Germany.
3 days ago, the European Parliament voted in favor of a strongly worded resolution that calls upon member states to fight any expansion of international regulations over the Internet.
The U.S. will also veto anything. So there's no present danger. There is an ongoing danger, and
right. We should be aware of it.
And we won't know what's happened behind the closed doors.
The problem, well, we'll see. This December 3rd through 14th in Dubai.
It's that long? Jesus, what do they have to talk about?
It's the World Conference on International Telecommunications. I mean, you've got to have some agreement about how the phone system works, and then similarly, you have to have some agreement, I would presume, about how border gateway protocol works, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, but maybe it's the engineers that do that, but in an ad hoc way. It's not broken.
Well, here's the other great thing about this. We talked about this last week, Leo, that now Google is not only making phones, but is rumored to be in a deal with, or talking about a deal with Dish to become a telephone company.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that, but
I want to believe it desperately.
Yeah.
But
we know Dish is doing that. Yes. They're creating an LTE-based net telephony system. We don't know if Google is talking with them about being a provider.
But the only point at the end of the day is that the phone becomes the afterthought. It's merely VoIP.
Right. It's all VoIP, right?
So again, the reason the ITU becomes rather irrelevant,
right? So when is one thing Google's not doing is buying ICOA Wireless.
I was disappointed. I wanted them to buy it.
This is the strangest. So PR Web, which is a press release service, you pay them thousands of dollars to distribute your press release. And Danny Sullivan has such a great article on Search Engine Land titled "How PR Web Helps Distribute Crap into Google and Other News Sites."
Yeah, this is a really good piece that made me feel like I don't trust any sort of clearly republished news stories ever again.
It's just, I mean, he actually does some searches both on Google and on Bing. He uses as an example a press release that comes out every month on PR Web.
I've always thought that Google News was wrong to put press releases into the same feed as news stories. Now, Google would argue that if you don't have access to the press, you're a company. One way you get a message out is by using press releases.
And they're labeled clearly press releases, aren't they?
They are, but they kind of show, I mean, the argument is how savvy is the public and so on and so forth. And in this case, it ends up on Google News. It ends up going around. People pass it around. They're not necessarily.
Well, but here's the interesting point. It's not just Google News. The Houston Chronicle also publishes this press release in its business press releases section. And then it becomes a news source in Google News. And Danny shows us very clearly how this Viagra site, this drug site, gets its press releases into Google News searches.
So why is this getting reprinted? Is PR Web paying the Chronicle?
No, the Chronicle is
what
apparently.
Is,
go ahead.
A newspaper site basically doesn't have a business section anymore. And PR Web comes along and says, we got all this stuff. People can search for it. It's there. It's announcements from companies. Put it up. And it's good for PR Web or PR Wire or any of these companies because they want distribution of the PR. The PR entity, any old company that hires a PR person that writes a press release, which is 99.9% of this, says we want audience for this. The newspaper wants some content. Yeah, it's supposed to be clearly labeled. It's labeled. And it's just more stuff in a section. That's all. So there's no imprimatur from the Houston Chronicle saying, we've checked this.
No, it says this is a press release.
It's press release.
Nevertheless, Google News then runs it because it's from the Chronicle. I guess they could take it out. They could say, well, we're not going to index the press release section. So the whole point of this was.
They made a choice to do that, Leo. And I actually questioned them early on. And they said it's just another source of information that's out there. And, companies in an ecosystem of information, legitimate companies are more and more going to be expected. I saw Craig Silverman was tweeting from some conference in the UK today about this kind of communication. Companies are going to be more and more expected to put up reliable, timely, accessible information about their stuff and what happens with them. And, press releases about things like stocks and that kind of stuff. It's the way they get it out. So, as a journalist, I, of course, look down my nose at press releases and flax. But if you just talk about information out there in the sphere, it's not necessarily noxious. It could be, here's a product, we do this show all the time where we want to see the original company's product release information or other stuff. It's okay. It's when somebody games the system.
Well, in this case, it was stock market manipulators who wanted the stock of this company to go up by the phony news that Google had just bought it for $400 million. So they had incentive. They were willing to pay the $1,000 or $2,000 to get this onto PR Web.
The question is, can't you back up to that money source and go after the money?
Oh, I'm sure you could.
That's the problem.
PR Web's probably protecting them. PR Web's response is that they follow an internal process designed to maintain the integrity of the releases, but even with safeguards, identity theft occurs. So they remove the fraudulent release. But as Danny Sullivan points out, they apparently don't mind running this Viagra press release monthly. From this fake, online drugstore. So, it really is interesting. Now, in our chat room, TV's Egon says that you can fix this. You can go to Google News and adjust the sources and take out a PR Newswire and PR Web and any other PR source from your Google News. You just do it. So, I don't know how to do that. Maybe he will tell us all.
Yeah, maybe there's a way besides just doing the minus PR Web.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Just doing a minus.
But that's not permanent, right?
It's not permanent, though.
Adjust sources, adjust the frequency settings. Is that where it is?
But the fact is that people aren't going to do this.
Press releases right there. Personalize Google News to reflect your taste in publishers. You have blog. There's only two categories you can turn off: blogs and publishers on press releases.
Hey.
Yeah, so I'm going to remove press releases now from my Google News sources. Bada bing, bada boom. Is that
blogs?
I think it's pretty funny. Those blogs, can't trust them.
Can't trust them.
I don't want to see anything from a blog ever.
Or they should have a Germany setting where you also don't have any publishers. Then it's done. No more lawsuits. Let's see. Any other stories before we go to our picks of the week? There's lots of patent lawsuits. Ignore.
Yeah.
That what's new. You see, everybody's using Twitter now. FBI is using Twitter to look for securities fraud. And President Obama tweeted today saying, "Help put pressure on your congressman to solve this fiscal cliff." I don't know. I don't know if that's
then one
effective.
of the opponents immediately bought the keyword.
Did they really?
Bought the hashtag, yeah.
Good.
Did you see that article that Mike Elgin wrote?
Yeah, well,
on Facebook.
Facebook's of course in the news because they've changed their probably illegally. I mean, the FTC in part of the FTC's judgment was that Facebook had to have an open process on its privacy policy. That's when they instituted the voting and all that. They said, we're not going to do voting anymore.
Because only 0.03% ever showed up. And the rule was that they needed 30%.
30%. 300 million people.
300 million people.
Come on. Most of them are fake anyway. And dogs can't vote. So, yeah, understanding Facebook's monopoly. Antitrust regulators, says Mike Elgin, are living in the past. Here's why Facebook, this is in Datamation, is technology's #1 monopoly. I didn't read it. What is the thrust of it?
I haven't got through the whole thing yet, but I got through the first page. It was pretty interesting. Basically, what he's saying is he makes the case for why Facebook is a monopoly, and it basically comes down to the fact that Facebook has a monopoly on users because the users are there.
He says everybody's on Facebook because everybody's on Facebook. That's Facebook's monopoly on everybody.
Right. And he says, in the past it's been for other reasons. He goes in to document, some of the IBM and Microsoft cases and why things were a monopoly in the past. And he says in this case, Facebook's a monopoly because, even though there's equal types of mechanisms out on other social networks, no one is going to go to those other social networks as long as Facebook.
Everybody hates, he basically makes the point that everybody hates Facebook. Everybody knows their privacy is being violated. But he says, when I suggest switching to a superior alternative, like I'm sure Mike is suggesting Google+, the response is always, what can you do? We put up with Facebook. I think he's got a good point. It is a monopoly.
It's a de facto monopoly.
It's a de facto monopoly. There are many other choices, which is why it's not actually a monopoly. And that's the issue. And he may say this, and I agree with him, but the law is the law, and you have to fit some legal standards before you can be declared a monopoly. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that those legal standards have caught up with what's really going on. I mean, there's Pinterest, there's Twitter, there's Google+, there's LinkedIn. Right. Those all have significant market share, so maybe it's spiritually a monopoly, but I don't think it's legally a monopoly.
It makes a good point. I mean, he says the highest purpose of antitrust and consumer protection laws is to, protect consumers.
Right.
And, he makes the case for it's basically what needs to happen here is that consumers could be hurt dramatically if Facebook were to do something.
We're seeing that, though. I mean, the FTC – now, the real question is the FTC going to stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, you have an agreement with us that you will allow –
the FTC tends to do, yes. Right. The FTC says, it's really its best enforcement mechanism is we don't care what you promise, but if you promise it and fail at that promise, we're coming after you.
Right. Well, I hope they do. That's pretty clear that, but on the other hand, you got to use Facebook because your family and friends are there. He's right in that regard.
Yep.
You can't not use. I quit. I couldn't. Had to come back. And so the answer to which I often give, and it's kind of flip of, hey, you don't like the Facebook privacy violations? Don't use Facebook. It's not a good answer. It's like saying don't use your credit card. But you can't go after. You just have to. The FTC has to go after him and say you got to improve your privacy issues. They are starting an external advertising network like Google AdSense. That'll
this
be
one
interesting.
will obviously use the targeting opportunities it has out of Facebook elsewhere. But that's not terribly new itself, right? The people say they get creeped out when I go to Amazon and I look for, a Chromebook. And then I go to sites elsewhere on the net. It'll show me laptops because it knows that. So it's not terribly new. I know we're going to hear a hue and cry about this, but...
And if you're Google, you should start to worry because Facebook has much better signals than Google does.
Well, let's talk about that. Do they?
Yeah. Google he's waving his Nexus 4 for those of you listening.
I'm
Google has Android, which certainly is a signal generator.
Exactly. Google has your searches, which cares about what you care about more in life and things you're actually looking for. Google has your maps and knows where you are. Google has your Gmail.
Email. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
If you started to add up that, it would be a really interesting story if you could start to estimate the data points, the valued data points that were held by each company. I don't know, Leo. I think I might still bet that Google has more.
Yeah, but if I'm I'm a guy who's selling toothpaste, and I want to buy ads. I could go to Google buy AdWords, and they'd be on a lot of different sites, or I could go to Facebook, and Facebook would say to me, "Well, Leo, we can tell you age, demographic. We can make sure that a Facebook user, when they visit these sites, will get your ad." Do you think that Facebook has better targeting or Google? I think Facebook's got better targeting.
Well, but Facebook hasn't shown it on its own site much.
No, that's true. The Facebook ads are terrible.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
They don't have expertise that they're going to export yet. Now, Google had to learn it too. But if you're I don't know, Dr. Zuckerberg, the dentist, Mark's father, you can advertise on Facebook and find people of a certain age in a certain geographic area. That's true. I think you could pretty much do that with Google too, and you could probably find people on Google who are looking up things like dentures.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, both of them are valuable.
Yes. Yes.
And both of them are going to annoy the hell out of the rest of us because those denture ads.
Okay, but how much irrelevance do you see now?
Right. At least they'll be relevant.
Yeah, and they'll do it badly at first, and they'll irritate people, and they won't be transparent enough, and they'll be a hue and cry. But at some point, they got to get better at it, because otherwise it's not going to work. If all it does is irritate you, well, I guess this is the more Park Sausage's mom argument. Another reference that's going to mean absolutely nothing.
That even doesn't even mean anything to me.
Oh, in the East Coast.
That I know. That rings a bell.
Oh,
it's a commercial. Yeah. Yeah.
And is she annoying?
Sausage's mom. This horrible, horrible commercial.
Yes.
Where the kid would just shout it, and you wanted to slap this little bastard.
Yeah.
And
sounds good.
That.
Sounds good. Okay.
But anyway, the argument at the time was irritating advertising works, otherwise they wouldn't do it, and it sells Park Sausages. So yes, I guess I'm wrong to that extent, but I still think that when it comes down to trying to have a relationship with you of relevance, and if all you do is irritate, then that's not going to work.
Here we go.
More Park Sausages, Mom.
That?
More Park
Yes.
Sausages, please. P-A-R-K-S, the pleasantest sausage.
That is annoying.
Wow.
Now, what if it were Robert Scoble saying it in your chat, in your browser? That's going to be annoying. More Park Sausages, Mom. I think we have to condition people to say, to like these things. Not, I don't mean me. But I think if I were advertisers, the goal here is to say, look, you could have random ads for hernia things that you don't need, or you can have an ad for something you really care about, like Park Sausages.
Right. Which I think there are services that give you that choice. Number one, number two, it's about compelling creative.
But you have to convince people that that's not creepy, that that's good.
Yes, I agree. You do. And the way you do that, I think, and the industry has not done that, is by giving you transparency about what's being done, why it's being done, what benefit you get out of it, and some control over it. The idea to say, hey, I'm kosher, enough with the Park Sausages, is an important control. And, by the way, only gives Park Sausages the benefit of not wasting its money on somebody who doesn't want to eat meat.
And instead, companies like Microsoft are throwing FUD around about Google, saying, you're going to get scroogled. This is not helping. No. Microsoft is even though Microsoft's in exactly the same business with Bing, they're by throwing mud at Google, they're ruining it for themselves. I don't understand why they would do that.
I think they're latching on to something that people have picked up on, like, oh, I don't want to see all these Google Plus posts in my search results or whatever it happens to be. And I think they're just latching onto that to say, oh, well, come over to Bing.
Yeah, but then people will go to Bing and the same thing happens.
Same thing will happen.
Except it's from Facebook instead of Google+. And I don't see how they're doing anything differently at all. In fact, even in... you're going to get ads in both of them.
Yeah.
And so what they're doing is they're doing the exact opposite of what I just said, which is educating people to the value of targeted ads versus saying, ooh, it's creepy. It's creepy.
You know, the other thing, this is not quite the same, but I've noticed on YouTube when I'm watching videos and I have the chance to, skip after 4 seconds or whatever, more often than not, I'm watching the darn ad. I'm surprised at myself. There's
really?
Yeah. And, a lot of them, by the way, are Google ads.
You've been beaten into submission.
I've been hypnotized.
Somebody sent me a link, and maybe I can find it on my Twitter stream, to a study on videos showing how impatient people are when they're watching video. They don't wait more than a second or two, and they'll click out of those ads. If you've got a pre-roll, boom, they're gone. It was actually very interesting, but I don't know if I can find this.
Yeah, Conan O'Brien does that. I don't know if you guys watch. If you go to Conan O'Brien's website to watch anything that he does, boy, I mean, it's the same ad over and over and over in front of every 3-minute clip. And it's just, I don't understand how whoever runs his website hasn't gotten the feedback that this is awful.
Because people really want to watch the Conan content, and they'll put up with that abuse.
Well, I actually think that the problem is that when the web started, there were no frequency controls for ads.
Right.
And so you got that. And what it meant was advertisers wasting their money. What it really means, it's a very bad media placement. That advertiser is wasting a lot of money. They don't want to be seen 100 times. They don't. They want a frequency control to be seen n number of times. Probably just over the bar of irritating, yes, but not to the point of absurdity.
Actually, this has to do with quality as well. Users are willing to wait for no more than 2 seconds for a video to start playing, with each additional second adding 6% to the abandonment rate. I like that. The abandonment rate. Users with good broadband connectivity expect faster video load times and are even more impatient. Users who experience video freezing watch fewer minutes of the video than someone... Well, that makes sense. So this actually doesn't have to do with advertising, but I think you could extrapolate it. This is the first large scientific study of how people respond to poor video quality from Akamai and the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Inferring causality using quasi-experimental designs. Now that's science right there.
I wish I spoke science.
It's written in the science language. We're going to take, I guess we don't need to take a break. We'll go right to your picks and tips of the week coming up in about 7 minutes. We're going to talk about a new picture sharing site on triangulation. Our guest was a TechCrunch Disrupt winner, and will be joining us. What's the name of the site that I can't remember, but what is it?
Everpix?
Everpix, that's it. Everpix. The founder of Everpix coming up on triangulation. Let's start with Gina's tip of the week.
This one is courtesy of Chad. Thank you, Chad. I was scrambling for a tip. You hooked me up. geekmat.blogspot.com does a post on how you can bookmark direct links to your multiple Google accounts. So he figured out that there's in the URL, there's a number that corresponds to the order in which you signed into your account. So if you've got 2 Google accounts, I know Jeff does. I know that a few of us probably do. If you sign into your first one, your second one, there are direct links to your Gmail inbox, to your calendar, to your Google Drive, which like, for example, Gmail, it's mail.google.com/mail/u/0 for your first user. And then for the second user it's /1. For calendar, it's auth user equals 0, auth user equals 1, depending on the order. This isn't translating very well over audio. We'll have to put the link to this blog post somewhere, because this is really useful if you just want to bookmark direct links to your Drive or your Gmail inbox for multiple accounts. The trick is you have to sign in the same order every time. You can go direct to it instead of switching in the user dropdown. So that's geekmat.blogspot.com. You can get those links if you use multiple accounts. You want to add them to your bookmarks bar or save them elsewhere.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, just a little tip.
Yeah. Jeff has a number of the week. Jeff?
All right, well, actually, after doing this PR thing, I had somebody who was saying that there are going to be fewer Nexuses sold than imagined, but it's on this site that says it's NASDAQ, but it's all these people who just put up their own links, so I'm not going to do that one.
Because we don't know how true it is.
I'm be sensitive about this. So what instead I'm going to do 1 hour. That's how long it took Martin Anderson to make a poster, and thank you, Martin. If you look at the rundown,
is there a poster?
No way.
If you look at the rundown of the chat, there's a poster.
Martin, you rock and you roll. That is awesome.
Great.
Wow. Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Wow.
That is very good.
Jeff
And
Jarvis, private parts.
It pumps the book.
I think the book is public parts, though.
That's okay. I'll take the joke.
You should give that to Howard.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Tell me he's working on mine right now, which I so appreciate.
Martin, you are so cool. That is beautiful.
It is. It's a nice one.
That is great.
I got to talk to Martin. He said he's going to send me the originals and a release form, which means we might be able to. It'd be kind of fun to make, which means we can use it.
Oh, cool.
So we might be able to make postcards for everybody.
Yeah.
We could have some sort of
and
voting.
they're vector images, so you can blow them up huge.
I think we should put them on the side of the building.
Sure. In every window. It'll look like we're a band.
We are a band of brothers and sisters. Anyway, I don't know.
From my days as a newspaper columnist, I got to say that the best thing to do is to be walking around town and you see your face on the side of a truck.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Feels good. Actually, we wanted to put pictures of all the hosts in the lobby. We've got 20. Lisa just told me 20. How many is it? 24 outside hosts. How many outside hosts do we have?
28.
28 outside hosts, 4 in-house hosts. So we could put
28 regulars.
28 regulars. We put 32 pictures in the lobby.
Just like the ice cream flavors.
Yeah, 32 flavors of hosts.
Wow.
I think we each ought to have a handle beneath us with a different flavor of yogurt. Yeah.
That's good. You could just soft serve. Come over to our soft serve.
I would taste just Jeff Jarvis flavor and then Leo flavor. Yeah, and it might get a little weird.
I think my flavor is sweaty. Tastes like sweat. Flop sweat.
I was about to say Gina would be mint. That's hilarious.
She's mint. Jeff tastes like public parts.
No, butternut. Butternut.
Butternuts?
Butternut? Is that even a thing? I meant to say butterscotch.
Flavor. Butternut flavor. Yes.
Butternut.
Yes, and that sounds pink butternut. I'm not going to do a tool. I'm going to let Aaron take the load here. Aaron, you got a tool of the week for us.
I do. It's called Smart Wi-Fi Toggler, and I need to thank. It actually came from Lifehacker. I saw it this morning in Google+. And I thought it was a really good tool. There are other tools that will do this, but this one's really simple and easy to use. So Smart Wi-Fi Toggler, basically what it does is it will automatically learn your Wi-Fi hotspot locations based on your network location, so not your GPS location. And the whole idea here is to only turn on your Wi-Fi when you are near a Wi-Fi spot that you want to actually use. So it won't actually try to connect to every Starbucks that you pass or every McDonald's that you pass on the highway. And so it does this automatically, and there's just a few simple settings you go through to
That's great.
To set this up, and then it will automatically start learning which Wi-Fis you connect to, where they're at. And then there's some basic settings that you can turn on and off, like there's a disconnect timeout, for example. So when I'm away from this Wi-Fi for more than X amount of time, then turn off my Wi-Fi, and it'll do that automatically. Similar thing with it will. There's a trial timeout, so it'll tell how long it should keep Wi-Fi on when it suspects the presence of a nearby hotspot. So you can adjust that if it takes you longer to connect to your Wi-Fi at home, for example, you can adjust that timing and all that.
So the theory would be to save you power, save you battery.
It saves you battery, exactly. And the fact that they did this without using the GPS sensor in your phone is really good, because that's another big battery drain right there.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm going to try it out. I just found this today, thanks to Lifehacker, and I'm going to try this out and report back and see how well it does. But I think it's a nice little tool for people to use.
This is where they have Android developers have such an advantage, because there's APIs and access to all this stuff. Whereas on the iPhone, I would be very shocked if there were API and access to this kind of information,
right,
because Apple really kind of keeps this locked down for security reasons, ostensibly. But that's the choice you make when you go to the Android platform versus the Apple platform. You get a little bit more, some more interesting stuff.
Yep.
Thank you, Aaron. Great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Aaron Newcomb at the thesourceshow.org.
But it's better just to go to Google Plus and add me to your circles. A lot of people have been doing that lately, and that's where I really do all of my discussion about open source, Linux, Android, making stuff, especially if Raspberry Pi comes up quite often.
Are you a Raspberry Pier?
I am, and I've got to bring over my project once it's done. It's a radio like the one. There wasn't one behind us, but there's several radios from the 40s and 50s, little tabletop radios around. I'm taking one of those, taking the guts out, putting Raspberry Pi in, and when you turn it on, it plays old time radio shows automatically, and it just kind of streams them ongoing. So you turn it on, you'll get something different every time.
And why is your Google Plus icon an A+?
I don't know. I guess when Google Plus first came out, there was like Google employees and others where the Google Plus logo looked like this, and I thought, well, my name's Aaron. I've got two A's in my names. I'll do A+. Yeah, why not?
I like it. And I've been following you all along, as it turns
that
out.
The Google Plus squib now has the world's tiniest little number in it in the tab. In my Google Plus tab, it has the G Plus logo. It now has the world's tiniest little number of how many updates you have.
Mm-hmm.
Where is that?
Really?
In the favicon?
Yeah, not the favicon, but
the title. Oh, right here.
The title, yeah.
Yeah, the 100.
No. Up in the favicon, up in the tab. Right up there. Right, yes.
So that's not the favicon.
Oh, what's that called?
That's just the window title.
The window title.
So mine says 100 because I think that's probably as high as it goes.
Right.
So it always says 100.
That's how many notifications you have.
Right. Because I always have 99 plus, which would be 100.
Yep. Of course.
It's similar to Gmail.
It's just like my inbox, 24,000. I wish it would just stop after 10 or 20,000. Just say you're never going to read that, so just ignore it. When I was in Australia, somebody brought over a Raspberry Pi project that was really cool. They took the docking station from the phone. What was the phone that docked? Was it a Tiva? The Atrix.
Mm-hmm.
The Atrix phone. So remember the Atrix phone, which is an Android phone from LG, which would dock into a screen and a keyboard. Mm-hmm. Instead of having the Atrix phone, they had a Raspberry Pi.
Oh, cool.
And they were running the OS and everything.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's really cool. Yeah.
There's a little teeny tiny, if you look on my Google Plus, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a little teeny tiny arcade cabinet that this guy made.
Oh, that's neat.
With the Raspberry Pi. But it's only like 6 inches tall. There it is.
The MAME cabinet.
Yeah, I mean it's really small.
6 inches tall. See, we have a big MAME cabinet.
Yeah.
It's running in a Mac
like
Mini.
Yeah. Yep.
Somebody brought that by, but this you could do it with Raspberry Pi.
Yeah,
and make it really small. Tiny. That's so cute.
I thought that was awesome.
It's the size of a cigarette lighter or two. Wow, that is really cute.
I'd like to show you my.
It has a 128 by 32 OLED marquee along the top. Oh, that's crazy.
It really is. I mean, it's incredible what you can do now with this thing, and it's only $35.
Yeah,
go buy one.
Yeah, and there's a MAME emulator for it. Wow. All right. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Gina Trapani, smarterware.org, thinkup.com. Anything else you want to talk about?
That's it.
That's
a text, as always.
And the maker of Etta.
Maker of Etta.
Etta maker.
It was a big launch.
Yeah.
Still recovering from that launch.
She's still living in the maker space.
She's in beta.
She is in beta. Oh, she is in beta.
Oh, yeah. We're all in beta, baby.
In beta for the next 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe longer.
Maybe longer.
Maybe longer. Jeff Jarvis at buzzmachine.com. Get his book, not Private Parts. That's Howard Stern. Public Parts.
Thank you as always.
There it is. Look at that lovely book.
There you go.
Available in better bookstores everywhere, on Amazon, and all of that stuff. We do this show 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Time on TWiT.tv. That is 2100 UTC every Wednesday, right after Security Now, right before Triangulation. But, you don't have to watch live. It's fun if you watch live, and we appreciate it. And you can see the chat room is a great help to us. So we love it if you're in there at irc.twit.tv. But if you can't, on-demand versions of all of our shows in audio and video are always available. Best thing to do is subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, and that way you'll get it every single week automatically. You won't have to even think about it. That's at twit.tv. Triangulation's coming up next. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Can I
best
plug?
of? We got to do the best of.
Yeah.
Is that what you wanted to mention?
Yeah, we're coming up on the end of the year, and we want your input on what we should put in the video that we like to throw together when we don't do shows during Christmas. So
Christmas is Tuesday this year, so but the day after Christmas, we're not going to want to do it this week in Google. So we'll if you go to twit.tv/bestof, and you can just something you remember from this year that you really liked. Jeff Jarvis doing reggae. That would be a good choice. You should have been doing this all year. Pick the show this week in Google. If you know the episode number, it says required.
I think the episode number is, but everything else.
Oh, I don't think we should, because people don't necessarily know that. I don't want that to slow people down.
The hacks in your audience will put in 000.
Okay, they'll put something.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Just put in 000 if you don't know it. When did the show air again? I know you're not. And time code. We're requiring time code. The hell? Who fucked this up?
If you could put in the middle or about at the end.
Okay.
It
says. See, this is a barrier to entry. I obviously have not vetted this. Please put your answer in hour : minute format. The hell? All right, you don't have to.
One
do
of our
that.
engineers cooked this
clearly
up. You can tell.
An
This is
OCD
a programmer made this.
Yeah, clearly an OCD programmer who
Strongly
didn't want to
typed
write the
data.
JavaScript code to validate it. But just basically, all we really need is for you to pick a show and say what happened, and somebody will probably remember. If you know the episode, that'd be great. You do not have to put your name in there either, or your Twitter handle. It's only if
I don't know why
want
they
to.
did that. Maybe we're going to have
We
credits
want
at the
people
end.
to submit. We don't
I'm
want to
not
scare
sure.
them away. Thank God they didn't put a CAPTCHA in there. Oh, and please solve this puzzle.
Sign in with Facebook.
Right.
You don't have to do any of that. Just whatever
What's your
you
clout
know,
score?
whatever you got, just fill it in.
What's your clout score?
What's your clout? Oh yeah, you have to have clout of 50 or more to submit.
Exactly.
Can we change all that stuff? Just take
We
that
should.
stuff
The
out.
boss is back.
Yeah. Wow.
Put in a CAPTCHA. Let's make it hard. I don't want robots submitting to the best of. You must be a human to submit. Twit.tv, /best of. And please don't be discouraged. That's just a Google Doc, so we can easily fix that.
Pretty positive we can. Yeah.
Right. Just put it whatever you know.
By the time you submit one, it will probably already be up.
It'll be all fixed. Are you sure you want to close this tab? Yes. And I want to close this show. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Twig.